The Cadillac Escalade is easily one of the most recognizable nameplates in the auto industry. When Cadillac first introduced this model back in 1999, all the wealthy celebrities went crazy because of this model's unique combination of practicality, luxury, and of course, presence, which is surprising to me as to why Cadillac took so long to finally apply the high-performance V treatment to the Escalade. But after an over 20-year-long wait, the Escalade V is finally here. I actually already had a chance to drive this vehicle out in Arizona a few months ago. However, as you can see this week, I'm getting a second taste because Cadillac has loaned me the truck for a full week, which means we're going to put it through our usual battery of tests. I'm going to obviously 0 to 60 test this vehicle, and I'm also going to test out the fuel economy and see what we can get over the week-long loan term period. However, at the end of this video, I'm going to find out, for those of you who have been waiting such a long time for a factory built Escalade V, was it worth it? And is this vehicle worthy of the V nameplate? Stay tuned to find out. Now this is an Escalade V, so before we start talking about the subtle exterior styling changes, I want to show you guys what is powering this vehicle underneath this massive hood. So if you guys are familiar with the CT5V Blackwing, this is essentially the same motor. It has been updated, of course, with a larger 2.7 liter supercharger versus 1.7 liter. It's pushing in a little bit more boost. It's tuned differently. And you can see, like a lot of other performance General Motors vehicle, it is hand assembled. So I want to thank Anthony Terry for building such a magnificent motor for this awesome truck. But 6.2 liter supercharged direct injection push rod V8. So it's a small block V8 making 682 horsepower and 653 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are, I want to say, around almost 20 more versus what the motor you find in the CT5V Blackwing. But again, this is a much heavier vehicle. Unlike the CT5V Blackwing, this only comes with the General Motors built 10-speed automatic transmission. It has been tuned, of course, strengthened to be able to handle the extra power and torque of this engine. And this is also the first application of this 6.2 liter V8 with four-wheel drive. So instead of rear-wheel drive like on the CT5, we're going to be able to do launch control in this vehicle and really get off the line much quicker because of the all-wheel drive system. Fuel economy, I didn't have those numbers back when I tested this in Arizona, but it's rated at 11 city and 16 highway. For those of you who care, you need to make sure to put premium. This is required to run on premium. It has a 24-gallon gas tank, so again, not a cheap vehicle to buy or a cheap vehicle to run on an everyday basis. Cadillac says 0 to 60 in around 4.4 seconds. We're going to retest it with the shorter wheelbase model that we have here because we got 5.1 in the longer ESV version back in Arizona. And curb weight, this vehicle weighs in at around 6,200 pounds. The Escalade V will still tow a maximum of 7,000 pounds, so that's a reduction of around 1,000 or 1,500 pounds versus the regular Escalade. And this truck here will reach a top speed of around 125 miles an hour. But let's go ahead and close the hood and talk about the styling changes for this model. Now, first of all, this all-new generation Escalade was introduced just a couple years ago, and I think Cadillac really did a great job, although I will say that I still prefer the looks of the GMC Yukon, Denali especially. It kind of reminds me of an Escalade, but I have to say, this model basically starts life as a Sport Platinum in the front fascia, but Cadillac did give it a slightly more unique front end. You can see all Escalade Vs come with basically one exclusive trim level. You have standard full LED headlights. You have the blacked out grille with the new wreathless crest. You can see it's got like a mesh finish to the grille. And you can see down here, it's got that signature LED daytime running light, which is very distinctive. Remember, this kind of started out life as Cadillac's art and science theme. Down here, you can see slightly more aggressive front splitter. There's your sensor for the adaptive cruise control. My tester is missing the Super Cruise. And then some of the vents here you can see are fake, but then there's also some functional ones here. Surprisingly, no heat extractor, but the hood does have slightly more or slightly larger bulges to kind of accommodate, again, the larger front fascia. But overall, in this silver color, it's a very subduedly styled SUV, which is not in the Escalade's nature. This is really an instantly recognizable truck, so I'm surprised Cadillac didn't want to make it a little bit more ostentatious, a little bit more in your face. Now, looking around the side profile, you can see this model here is the standard wheelbase truck, which means it measures around 212 inches long in overall length. Its wheelbase is around 120 inches long. The ESV version is around 15 inches longer longer, and it's basically just going to stretch it out in the back to give us more cargo space for those of you who need it. You can see the wheels. These are unique to the Escalade V. They're a 22-inch, 18-spoke dark gray finish, and you can see the brakes have been upgraded. There is 6-piston Brembo caliper, painted in red. The rotor diameter in the front is 16 inches versus a 13.5-inch rotor at the back. These are surprisingly the same all-season tires. Bridgestone Alenza riding on 275/50 are 22-inch tires. So I'm surprised Cadillac didn't go with a fatter wheel like a 295 or a 305. They don't offer a summer performance tire either, but again, for those of you who want that, you can add it through the aftermarket. This vehicle does come standard with the company's 4-corner air suspension with adaptive dampers. I have it in the lower setting right now. Cadillac didn't disclose how much ground clearance this truck has, but you can also raise and lower it based on pushing a button in the dashboard. And the suspension has been specifically tuned for the V to give it slightly more athletic handling. Now, around the side profile, you can see the only other indication of the V is this large V badge right here. The mirrors, you can see, aren't even black painted. They have an integrated turn signal. You can see there is a subtle low profile roof rails. You can get crossbars, and then my Tester also comes standard with the big panoramic glass roof, which is definitely a nice option to let in a lot of light. And then at the back here, you can see I definitely prefer the proportions of the standard wheelbase model, but again, if you need more cargo space, go with the ESV. Cadillac claims it'll be around an 80% to 20% take rate. 80% of people would likely choose the shorter wheelbase model. Now at the back, you can see very much subtle styling changes. You have the typical full-length taillights that all Escalades have. You have a very small V badge here at the back, and then the exhaust. This is another indication. It is a frickin' mean sounding exhaust. I really want to apologize to my neighbors in advance because just listen to how loud this truck is, guys. Every time I start this vehicle up, it seriously scares me, and it is always pretty much loud. There is a stealth mode, but every time you first fire it up, when it's a cold start, this truck literally sounds like a motorcycle. It screams, or it's very in your face. Now, opening up the tailgate area or the cargo area, there's a little button underneath here where you can push that button. That'll actually open up just the separate glass for those of you who want to get into it without opening up the entire tailgate. But you can also just push the Cadillac logo. That'll open up the full tailgate, and you can see the cargo room is pretty good for the standard wheelbase model. You get around 26 cubic feet of space with the third row seat up. This vehicle obviously comes standard with third row seating. Underneath here, you can see there's a little bit of storage, which is nice. You can also push these buttons right here, and you actually have to, looks like you have to push and hold it. And right now it's not closing or folding down all the way because the front seats, the second row seats are all the way back. But fold that down, you get around 72 cubic feet of space. If you fold down everything, Cadillac says there's around 121 cubic feet of space, which is, again, basically minivan-like. And if you need more, the ESV is going to basically increase this size to around 36 cubic feet to 93, and then offers up to 134 cubic feet. So that's minivan-like capacity, and it's because they added a fully independent suspension to this generation when they first introduced it back in 2020. So now let's move on to the interior of the 2023 Escalade V. As you guys heard, the vehicle has a walk-away auto lock function that you can turn on and off. So if I have the key fob on me, which as you can see, The fob is going to be painted the same color as the brake caliper, so it's red because the brake caliper is red. It's got remote start from the fob, and it also has that auto walk away feature where you can walk away from the truck after you close the door and shut it off, and it'll automatically lock for you. Now, approaching it, you can see door handles are pretty much the same. They are actually fixed into position. They're also lit up. There's a pressure pad on the back of the door handle. When you push that, it actually opens up the door for you. And the silver exterior of my tester is really nicely complemented by this dark auburn, like a purple burgundy interior. It basically has the same interior from the Sport Platinum. So you have the perforated semi-aniline seats. These seats adjust in like 18 or 20 different ways. I honestly lost count of how many ways they adjust. They are heated, ventilated, and massaging. And you can see my tester also has the 34 speaker AKG audio system. So when you get tired of listening to that lovely supercharged V8, you can also listen to the wonderful audio system. The door panel, you can see, has real stitching, real wood, although I would prefer a matte finish wood or an open pore as opposed to the glossy finish, and some piano black plastic. Down here on the lower panel, it is hard touch plastic, but the window controls, you can see one touch up, down for the front. The rears are one touch down, but not one touch up. You can see here are your controls for the cooled and heated seats, and then you also have 2-person memory on the driver's side, and then this button here turns on and off the massage. You can adjust everything from a lot of these switches. It's definitely a really premium environment, and it's practically the same as the regular Escalade, which is a good thing. Getting inside the truck, this power deploying running board is nice, but there's no grab handle here, so most of you who are short will probably grab onto the steering wheel like myself and then kind of hoist your way in. Now, getting in and shutting the door, you can either just kind of click it. This truck does come with soft closing doors, or you can slam it and it has a really nice solid sounding thunk. Now, the button to fire at the engine is right here, and it is blocked by the steering wheel. But every time you start it up, you're gonna hear that V8, and it's seriously super obnoxious when you first turn this truck on. It's going to scare a lot of your neighbors or piss them off, or even scare you. But again, it constantly reminds you that you're in a special Escalade because the interior is practically the same as the regular one, aside from the V badge here, and maybe the unique interior options, color options, although I have seen this on color and other trims before. It's practically the same thing. You have this beautiful curved display. It's 38 inches of curved display. You have a 17-inch display here, although the CarPlay, as you can see, it's wireless. It doesn't take up the entire screen. There's a lot of unused real estate here, but if you again go to like something like the GPS display, that'll take up the entire display here, which is nice. And then there's like a 13 or 14-inch display here on the center stack. Another 7-inch display over here where you can kind of adjust this, where this is a touchscreen. That's all very nice. It looks very beautiful at night. There's also really nice ambient lighting kind of splashed throughout, accented throughout the cabin, although it's not quite as fancy as the Mercedes lighting or even the BMW lighting. But again, Cadillac has built a world-class interior here, and it really shows that when GM puts their mind to it, they can. Now you can see heads-up display over there. The dash has all of this leather stitching, genuine leather, along even the top portion of this OLED display, which is beautiful. It says Cadillac spelled out over there. There's some indicator controls like for your parking brake, your seatbelt reminder, ABS light, and then there's also the traction control. This is where you're gonna look for that when it's blinking to show that you're engaging the launch control. And then over here you can see you can even customize the gauge display here. So I can go from a gauge display and put the map over there, which for some reason it's not populating, or you can also do the augmented reality camera, which again, really cool. It shows you exactly what's in front of you in case you don't feel like looking ahead, which is where you should be looking. And then the steering wheel, you can see it's a power tilting and telescoping adjustment. It's a heated wheel, obviously. It's got paddles on the wheel, all your usual buttons and whatnot. The horn sounds good. It's very appropriate given the size of this vehicle. It doesn't sound puny. And then you can see more of that glossy dark wood grain, which I would prefer an open pore matte finish wood. More beautiful leather stitching along the center console. This is where you can access your tri-zone automatic climate control. I've shown you guys this system before, so just watch one of my other Escalade videos if you want to see this a little bit more into detail. You can see there's also a rear view camera mirror. If you don't like that, you can just go back to a standard mirror, but I really learned to appreciate that feature. And then you can see here, backup camera has full top-down view. You can also go to several different angles if you'd like, a top-down, a side view, so you can keep yourself from curbing the wheels. There's also a trailer view, and then your trailer brake controller is down here on the driver left side of the lower dash. Now over here you can see this controls the 10-speed auto. You can turn on and off your lane keep assist. That's the V mode button. That's going to give you your most aggressive drive mode setting. You can kind of go into the system and adjust that if you'd like. You can also control this system here via the rotary controller if you don't want to use it as a touchscreen, but it's a relatively far reach, but most of you are probably going to use the touch functionality of it. This is where your wireless phone charging pad goes. It charges my iPhone 12 Pro Max perfectly. And then you can see here, open this up, big 2 cup holders, a little bit more storage, and then your USB-A and USB-C charging port is there. Over here you can see large storage console area. This is actually a refrigerator. It gets really damn cold where it'll keep your drinks cold or your camera equipment in there to keep it from overheating. It's also, you can see, sealed off. So love the fact that there's a refrigerator. A lot of families are gonna love that on road trips. The seats, as you can see, really beautiful looking, extremely comfortable. Love the fact that you have speakers in the headrest. The massage also works really nice. When you want to activate the massage, just basically push a button here on the seat, and that will allow you to kind of turn on the several different massages. It looks like there's like 7 or 8, maybe 6, actually 6 different types of massage. My personal favorite is the knead or the wave massage. It all works fairly well, and it's also standard. Now over here on the glove box, you can see it's huge, it's damped, and it's lined with felt, so plenty of storage in this truck. And then above me, you can see the headliner has this beautiful Alcantara material and this massive panoramic glass sunroof, which lets in a ton of light. So obviously, this has all the luxury and space that you'd expect. I do kind of wish that Cadillac made it feel a little bit more special, like maybe a flat bottom wheel design and more, unique touches for the V model. But overall, it's still a wonderful place to spend time, and most of you are going to be quite happy with it. Hopping into the back seat, you can see the Escalade V is also a wonderful family vehicle because the Escalade already is a wonderful family vehicle. The second row, you can see, comes standard with these lovely captain's chairs. If you guys want to bench, I don't believe Cadillac offers it on the V. These seats are essentially almost as comfortable as the front seats, minus the massage feature. They also are heated, but sadly no cooled back seats. You can see manual adjustments. You can get back there pretty easily if you'd like. And then over here on the door panel, you can see it's got the same beautiful stitched leather with the black dark wood grain, the piano black plastic trim. You have the same metal accent covers for the speakers, which is nice. And then down here, you can see just hard touch plastic materials. Getting back here, you can see the running board also lets in a really nice step. There's also a grab handle here. My tester also has the rear seat entertainment package, which is definitely a nice charge. And then these seats, like I said, they have this really cool Cadillac badge embossed on the actual seats themselves. Now getting back here, you can see there's roughly around 41.5 inches of legroom back here, which is plentiful. Getting back and shutting the door, you can see there's just a ton of space. There's heated seats, like I said, rear zone climate control. You have wireless headphones available with this rear seat entertainment package. And then above me, you can see the sunroof lets in a ton of light. Headroom is a little bit compromised with this roof. I'm 5'7", so I can get pretty comfortable back here. There's a lot of ports here for an HDMI hookup, USB-C charging ports, an actual power outlet. Open that up, you can see there's your cup holders, and then there's also an armrest that folds down. So really, really comfortable seats back here to kind of give you first class accommodations. If I want to ding it, however, there is no manual sunshades back here. That would be nice. There's also LED lighting up here, which is nice. You have vents over on the roof, which, as you can see, no vents over here, but the vents are actually on the roof on the second row and for the third row. But let's go ahead and hop into the third row, which obviously you can get back there via the little opening right there, or you can also kind of pull this up, and then you can see that will, if you pull it twice, it actually will let you fold that seat forward. And then for the third row, Cadillac really stepped up their game for this generation because of the actual lower floor when they introduced the independent suspension. You can see there's around 35 inches of legroom back here. If you guys go for the ESV, it actually increases it by 1.5 inches, which is nice. These seats themselves, they are really comfortable, actually. You have a wide enough body to fit 3 people across. There's a USB-C charging port there. It's actually a padded armrest over here with cup holders. Kind of the same thing on this side where you have USB charging port. You have rear seat air vents, which again, all very nice to have, especially when you plan to carry 7 people. You can do it in comfort in this truck, and that's one of the reasons why it's going to be really popular with families, especially if you guys go for the bigger ESV model. All right, so here we are back in the bonkers crazy Escalade V. When I last had a chance to drive this truck, I was in Arizona where the temperature was 106 degrees. Today it's around 61 degrees. So I'm also testing out the shorter wheelbase version. So this model here is around 200 pounds lighter. And what I really want to test out first is the 0 to 60 time for this car, because when I was out in Arizona, I got 5 seconds, 5.1, because of the heat and because we were in the heavier model. Now that we are in the shorter wheelbase and it's really ideal temperatures out there, I want to see how close we can get to Cadillac's claim of 4.4 seconds. I suspect that is a slightly conservative number, but we'll go ahead and see what we can actually get on our usual road here for testing. Now, to engage launch control, you put it in V mode. For the brake and the accelerator, there's actually a little traction light that'll blink over here. There we go. Oof. Oh my God. It settles the revs at around 1500 RPM. Once you see that traction light blink over here, 4.33 seconds. So a smidge quicker than GM's claim, than Cadillac's claim. And yes, I've driven vehicles that are obviously faster, but remember, we're still driving a 6,300 pound brick of an SUV, and the sound that this thing makes, it just more than makes up for the fact that it's not quite as, that 3.5 seconds sprint that you get from some electric SUVs. And also the German competitors, the AMG GLS and whatnot, those are going to be slightly quicker still, or the BMW Alpina XB7, but they also don't quite have the raw feeling of power and noise that this car has. It has a feel to it that is truly distinctly American. Yet what I think Cadillac really nailed as well with this vehicle is the fact that it still feels extremely comfortable. Like, yes, this is a V, but it's not a V in the sense that this is a Blackwing model where you can take it out to the track. This is essentially what Cadillac says, the car that you take to the track and you drive there with all of your people and all of your stuff and whatnot, because this vehicle just has all of that performance and power. And every time you put your foot down, it just literally fills the cabin with so much exhaust noise. It sounds twice as loud as the Escalade Sport Platinum that I last drove. It sounds like literally gunshots as it shifts through that 10-speed automatic. And let me tell you, this 10-speed transmission is just tuned so much better in this car. And you can also pull these paddles here, which rev match okay. It's a little bit sluggish, although that first gear one was good. But let me tell you guys, if you shift too late using the paddles, it will cut the power pretty abruptly. So you want to make sure you're on your A game with the paddles, or just ignore the paddles and just use the automatic mode. This 10-speed has been tuned for far more aggressive shifts to work with this supercharged V8. I mean, nearly 700 horsepower. I'm looking forward to when, tuners like Hennessy get a hold of this vehicle and do over 1,000 horsepower, because it's just going to be absolutely stupid quick. And that's kind of the whole point of the Escalade V, is this car's always been kind of like ostentatious, obnoxious, and it finally has the performance and the noise, to back that up. And even though Cadillac went with a more stealthier look on the outside, I kind of appreciate it. But like, you always kind of feel the weight of this car. But put my foot down there. I could never get tired of that. I mean, this noise is essentially what's going to make, enthusiasts like myself or like yourself miss, or well, you're going to miss this the most when the industry goes fully electric, because GM is working on an electric Escalade, which kind of makes sense for a vehicle like this, obviously. But let's go ahead and try it one more time here. Oh God, 4.38 seconds there. So very, very consistent performance. And Cadillac says this truck has a top speed of around 125 miles an hour. That's a really low top speed. I imagine most of you are going to be hitting that top speed really, really fast, because remember, it's still a rolling brick. This is where the European competitors will do 155 miles an hour all day long. But, I mean, trying to find a competitor for this car, I mean, the closest American competitor would be the Durango Hellcat, which they brought it back for 2023. The Dodge is definitely faster because it is slightly smaller and slightly lighter. But my God, this is just fantastic. I can't believe that this is not technically a Blackwing, but the noise sounds even just as good, if not better, versus the last CT5V Blackwing. But hustling it through this curve right here, you definitely feel the weight of this car. But they have tuned the adaptive air suspension to be slightly, more athletic. It's going to try to mask the weight of this car or this truck a little bit, but you just constantly feel it. The steering has a little bit more heft to it, but still it's kind of numb. You don't really feel what the front tires are doing. Body lean, surprisingly, is well controlled. You can credit the air suspension for that. again. And then every time you lift off the throttle, now first of all, I'm gonna switch the drive mode here into sport. I found that when it's in sport mode, that's where the exhaust makes most of those burbles and crackles. So listen to this, guys. Oh, so sorry, neighbors. I'm so sorry, neighbors. Oh. Wow, I am such a little kid at heart. So sorry, neighbors. But that's the thing, is this car is so stealthy that you have no idea that it's coming from an Escalade. You think there's a Corvette somewhere. Like, where's the Corvette making all this noise, or the Camaro? But it's not, it's an Escalade. And that's the coolest thing, is I'm sitting here getting a massage in comfort. I can see out of the vehicle really well. Sadly, my tester is missing the $2,500 for the Super Cruise option, but it still has, you know, GM's adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, but you still have all that luxury, all that technology, all that comfort, all that speed, all that raw performance feel. And sadly, you do have to pay for it at the pump. And my week's worth of testing, I've been averaging just under 12 miles to the gallon, although 13 is the combined number from the EPA. On the highway, the best I could do is like 15. I mean, it's 3 mpg reduction versus the gas, or versus the 6.2 non-supercharged. So it's really not that much more fuel, but in the grand scheme of things, you know, this is requiring premium in $5 a gallon gas world. It's an expensive truck to fill up. But if you can afford this $150,000 price tag, you're not going to be too worried, too concerned about the cost to fill up the tank. Instead, you're just going to be constantly doing that, listening to the V8 noises. And I don't blame you for a second if you want to do that all day long. So after spending a full week with the all-new Escalade V, I have to say, when I first drove this truck out in Arizona, obviously I was blown away, but spending a full week with this truck really kind of gives you the full-on experience. And this is a wonderful sayonara to the internal combustion engine, because as you guys know, like every other brand, Cadillac is going fully electric probably by the next decade. So cars like this, the CT5V Blackwing, the CT4V Blackwing, they are going to be special. They are going to become collector's items, which is why finding something like this out on the road is going to be kind of a rare sight. And the fact that Cadillac made it extremely stealthy on the outside is going to add to that kind of sleeper look that a lot of enthusiasts really like. The interior has all of the luxuries that you expect from an Escalade. I like how they kind of just made it simple. You buy this truck in one fully loaded trim level, you choose your exterior and interior color choices, and you basically add Super Cruise as an option if you guys like it, which my tester has. It's a $2,500 upcharge, 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Obviously, there are electric SUVs that are quicker. The German SUVs that are AMG-ified or M-ified are a little bit faster, but nothing else really kind of feels quite as visceral and raw or as bonkers, batshit crazy as this. And none of those other vehicles have the interior space of this truck, especially if you guys go for the ESV model. It is slightly slower because it's slightly heavier, but it's still just as raw, just as loud, and it gives you the practicality and the towing that a lot of American families are expecting, which is why if you guys are looking to get your hands on this truck, it's on sale now at a base price of just under $150,000. That's right, this truck is roughly $40,000 more expensive versus a Sport Platinum with the non-supercharged V8. Some of you may question, is it worth that cost? Obviously, if you don't care about the obnoxious noise and the 2-second faster 0 to 60 time, just buy the regular Sport Platinum. It is plenty of truck for most people. But for those of you enthusiasts out there who demand something special, who want something loud, something raw, something to piss off your neighbors and scare your children, this is one of the few vehicles out there that's going to deliver on that promise. My tester here, with some of the options that it has, comes into around $153,000 with destination. Obviously, that is very expensive money, but when you have a truck that's this fast, this loud, this exciting, it's basically a price that a lot of enthusiasts, I suspect, are going to be worthy to or willing to pay because of the exclusivity. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2023 Cadillac Escalade V. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.